Hello, welcome to my cake kitchen. I'm Gladys. Over here we make simple, informative tutorials. If you're trying to catch me and I'm over there, it's because I'm setting the secondary screen so that we can see what we are doing over here, especially when you want to talk to me. Delaney, welcome to the chat. Yes, if you're just joining me for the first time, over here we make simple, informative tutorials. And the hope is to help you navigate baking and decorating easily. We're back on the subject of ganache. And what are we doing today? Simply, we are going to try and color pre-made ganache. The ganache has been made already. So I'm going to take you through my process for making for coloring it after you've made it. Perhaps circumstances develop. It's always best to color your ganache before it's set solid, because the colors will mix well and develop and set properly, and you get a good color range if you like. But normally life happens, and as a baker, you're going to go and make your ganache and you find out you've run out of the coloring. What do? You don't just stop. You probably made the ganache and now it's time to color it. If you're following our ganache series, thank you very much. The ganache series, bear with me, people, bear. Right, sorry about that. If you're following our ganache series, thank you. It is getting a lot more attention than I would have thought, and it seems like the videos are landing and being helpful to you. So if you want to know how to make my white chocolate ganache, I have a video on it, 2 ways to make the ganache, and then how to prep and reformulate your ganache ready for use 24 hours later. All of those are packed with detailed tips in long form live. At the moment, it is the subject we are discussing, and I'm going to continue doing the ganache series until I feel that I have exhausted every corner of ganache land, okay? Just so that when you land on the ganache tutorials, you have all that you need to go and make your own ganache at home to cover your cakes. So go check those videos out. But today we are just we're not covering anything. We are coloring pre-made ganache. Like I give you some circumstances by which you'll end up with pre-made ganache that you have to color. Now, this is not bold. I made this right here. And I'm actually using the 3-to-1 ratio, which is my standard ratio of chocolate to cream, which is 3 parts of chocolate to 1 part of cream. It will make a nice amount of ganache for you to use. So this was about 300 grams of chocolate to 100 mils of cream. I made it in the last video where we were comparing ganache ratios. We have a ratio of 3-to-1, a ratio of 1-to-1, and a ratio of 4-to-1 and 2-to-1. We did a few different ratios, and after making the ganache, obviously ganache can be made and kept saved in a freezer. So I kept mine in a fridge because I knew I was going to use it, and then I brought it back to room temperature, which was left which was left on the countertop. So at the moment it looks pliable. I am just going to show you what the ganache looks like after I have made it already. This was made on Monday. What is today? No, actually it's not Monday. Tell a lie. When did we make the ganache ratios? I can't remember now. The days are just moving fast, people. If you've been here before, I can't remember. Anyway, let's move on. But it's my immediate last video where you will see the subject on the ganache ratios being covered in detail over there. So here is the ganache, the 3-to-1 ratio after it has been left to set. We know that it is the best form of ganache that is recommended because it covers well. It will maintain stability to a certain point on your cake. And so here is what we have. It's pliable. It's a little bit tacky. It's not as hard as the 4-to-1, but here's what we have. So how do you attempt to color a ganache consistency like this? That is what I am going to show you. So with our ganache all in, I'm going to, well, first of all, storing your ganache. What I did was I put it in a plastic case. I labeled it here. The date that I made it for, I would have put here if I wasn't going to use this sooner. So that is one way you can store ganache. But in the meantime, the ganache goes into a bowl. Before we do anything though, let me talk you through some of the tips for coloring your ganache, why some colors will work and why some colors may just not be your best option when you want to color ganache. We have already established in this tutorial that ganache is an emulsion, which is a fat to liquid mixture. Normally fats and liquids don't mix very well unless they have a peacemaker to keep them together, and we have established a peacemaker in both components, ingredients, which is cream has casein, cocoa butter has lecithin, and then it all comes together and then it mixes, which is why we have to be careful with how we approach our white chocolate ganache so it doesn't break or have consistency issue or develop texture and is grainy. All of that I have covered in the previous videos you can check out. So in that case, how do you optimize your ganache for best results when you want to color it? Well, it is almost always advisable that you color your ganache when you are making it, because then it will set for you, the colors will develop, especially if you're like me who wants to keep your ganache 24 hours later before you reformulate and use it in covering cakes. That will be your best tip. However, like I initially said, life happens and then you have to make your ganache and then color it. What do you do then? Which is what I am going to show you. But it's important to note that the colors that will be used for your ganache are just as important as the results you are going to get. And some of the recommended colors that may work for you better may be primarily oil-based colors, gel-based colors, falling necks, and some powdered food coloring. Now, coloring your ganache is not exclusively limited to these three options at all, not at all. But these are the three recommendations for your best outcome. Why? Because oil-based colors are optimized for mixing into oil-based substances like an emulsion of fat or oil-based ganache, okay? So the components will mix better, because if you went for, say, a water base, it just might not take well to the mixture. It might also cause consistency issues and might cause you some ganache problems along the way. Some of the recommended oil-based colors popularly known in the UK is, for instance, Color Mill. They have a range of colors which are formulated and concentrated enough that you only need a small dip into a large portion of ganache and yet you will get the colors. And that's because I think part of their formulation takes into account how the colors will mix into oil-based substances as well. Gel-based are slightly different because they have a bit of liquid in there, but Pro Gel, for instance, colors very well into ganache. You have then powdered food coloring in some different forms that will also color into your ganache. Sometimes you have to try a little bit at a time, increasing the colors as it develops with time, and then eventually you get to the color you want. Never ever 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 attempt to make ganache coloring by just going straight with your color, because it's always better to add more than to take out, especially. So those are some of the tips. If you're in the chat and you are talking to me, hello there, Agrotech, hiya. You're right, there is 20 of you in the chat. I sincerely appreciate all of you for being here. And Delaney is back to the day job. Delaney, I haven't even stopped to talk to you at all, darling. Delaney, how are you? I hope you are keeping well and life is treating you better. I haven't heard about you at all. Where have you been? Well, I am sure by the end of the tutorial, you'll be able to tell us where you've been and what you're doing. The problem with these class-based tutorials, I'm unable to kind of veer off and catch up with you, but it's always a pleasure to have you back. If you're in the chat, say hi to Delaney. She is our OG friend of the channel and original, at least if she will take that title, mod over here, Delaney. All right, so 1 second. So following on the, following on the tips for coloring your ganache. Well, decide the color you want, okay, and always best to choose the right color for the project you are going for. I suppose that is, I won't belabor this point here. You would know what that means because I know nothing about color theory, okay. I know you'll be surprised by that, but I've told you on here, I love convenience, okay? If the job is done for me, I don't want to waste my time, okay? So choose your best colors, but know where to actually source your best colors and just move along. I love color meal, but I'll tell you the thing I don't like about color meal. When it's running out, because it's an oil-based coloring, right? They do all sorts, but the formulation, which is oil-based for coloring into Ganache, right? When it sets, oh, it's hard to get it out of the bottle, which can be annoying. Who can relate? Put it in the chat, okay? Right. If you're coloring your Ganache, another tip to consider is if you're looking for a deeper color, start light. It almost ties into the theme that it's always best to add more than to take out. So whatever you do, start light and keep adding until you build up your color. But most importantly, make sure that your color or your coloring, you have a sort of white base. In some of my last tutorials, when I spoke about why I like white chocolate, it's white. Well, technically it's yellow. It has yellow tones, but it is white by nature. So it's plain enough to give you a canvas to kind of color. Whereas if I went for, there is absolutely nothing I can do with that unless I wanted to color it black. But even so, I have to consider the ratio of chocolate to cream and the amounts before I can even think of coloring. So that is just something to consider. Also, when you come to mixing your color, it is always best when the consistency is runnier, okay, and loose, because then it will take to the color, which is why I am taking you through this entire process of coloring your Ganache. When it's pre-made and it's set like this, it is tacky. What are you going to do with this? How do you even start? How do you avoid the color breaking up your Ganache? And how do you guarantee your best results? That's the simple reason why we are here. When you are coloring your Ganache, try as best as possible to avoid water-based colors, unless perhaps you are making a water type of Ganache. Now, that is a type of Ganache you may not see me make, and if I made it, I would only limit it to comparing it with other forms of Ganache, and that is because water-based Ganache is not my ministry, okay? I don't make that kind of Ganache. I don't know anything about it, so if you do, let us know. So on that note, tips done, let's move on to what you will do over here before you get your coloring done. First of all, I am also going to be coloring it white, okay? I am going for a white based coloring, and that is because I need some Ganache in white color for some projects. But besides that, with white you can add on anything. If you want to get pastel or you want to just mix a few other colors in here. The white doesn't necessarily have to be blank white, pale and crisp white at all. But because the Ganache originally has yellow tones to it, a little bit of white in here sort of turns things around and makes it lighter a little bit. It makes the presentation of a cake a little better. And in fact, this product here, which is Ingenious Edibles, is my go-to for white food coloring. Now, this is not sponsored, and if you want to know, I had a delivery of cake items I purchased recently delivered on a live, and I did an entire unboxing, and this product was part of the purchases I made. It's almost like we've become so cynical these days. I have to almost declare and make a disclaimer that whilst I love this product, it is not sponsored at all. I bought it, and this is the 500 ml bottle. If you look behind me, there are a few more here. That is what I use for my white chocolate Ganache to sort of whiten the Ganache, have a lighter coloring to it, and it works for me. So there you go. Now, this is more like it has the white titanium dioxide and glycerin, which sort of mixes well into the Ganache. So when you have your Ganache set like this, a bit like in the previous tutorial when I showed you how to reformulate your Ganache for covering your cake, we are going to be using exactly the same method, except in that video we colored the Ganache white from the start. This time we are warming the Ganache up to break it up, because the first thing we want to do is to bring this back to a sort of spreadable consistency so that it can take to the color. So with the consistency looking like this, let me just pop this in. Here's a note of caution to you before we go pop it in that whatever you do, don't be distracted, because first things first, the amount of ganache we have here is so not much. Like there's about 300 grams, a total of, let's say, 400 grams in, I don't even think it's 400 grams, to be honest. So it's anything between 3 and 350 grams because I ended up using some of it. With this amount, a microwave 900 watts full power, 2 minutes and the entire thing is broken and you have a hot mess on your hands. So we are talking seconds. So let's put this ganache back in there for 10 seconds. We'll do the live count 10 seconds here and then we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 seconds. Now let's get it back out. It looks like it's breaking up, but nothing is happening. It's breaking up, look, but nothing is happening. You want to make sure it comes to a spreadable consistency. So there you go. Another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. So we have 10, and this is the consistency we are looking for. We brought it back to, there are still lumps in there, but the lumps are not the same as if you had whole chocolate. So there you have it. And at this point, to kind of stop the overmixing, you can add your coloring. This is a new tab. Normally, I pour the color as I wish. But for the purposes of this tutorial, no, not that, yeah. Normally, I pour the color without having to weigh or measure anything. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to do it so that it's practical for you. So this is a full tablespoonful that measures about 15 mils. I don't know if I need 15 mils. I've gone for half of that. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to. Okay. That didn't help. Okay. So let's say between 5 and 10 mils here. And it's paling out. As you can see, it's paling out in real time. Look. It's paling. It's gone from the yellow to this. Look. But it's still got yellow tinge. So we may need all of the coloring then. We do have. Did you see the splatter, people? Did you see the splatter? It happens a lot over here. Okay. Okay. It's because the color has spilled. And if you're here, you'll find out. I don't like wasting anything. Not even a drop of my ganache. So we have 15 mils of coloring. Let's stir and see if it has the color we want. Look what we have here. It's not exactly the color we want, but based on the tip we gave, start light and then keep adding. So if we wanted this to we'll add more. That is 30 mils now. That's 2 full tablespoonfuls. Now, let's see. There you go. So if you really wanted this to pale out a bit more, you'll keep adding. The addition of glycerin here, which is the component ingredient here where the titanium dioxide, means that your ganache doesn't break. It actually holds your ganache and enhances the texture and elasticity. That's a word, right? But the more you add, because of the quantity we have here, if you keep adding more and more color, food coloring, which is liquid, to it, you will dilute or interfere with the strength and consistency of your ganache. So advisably, the amount of color that you add should be some sort of proportional to your ingredient amounts to yield you the best result. But on a general note, if you're using, say, gel colors, like the ones that are formulated to be so highly concentrated, like your color mill or sugar flare type of colors, a drop here and a drop there will still do the job and will not interfere with your consistency. So here is a super tip for you. If you're going to be using a consistency that is liquidy, perhaps make up the amounts, okay, reduce the amount of your cream and then make up for it by using the amount of coloring. For instance, if I wanted to get this to look pale white, as in crisp white, for covering a cake that was supposed to be presented white, for 300 grams of chocolate and 100 mils of cream, but to get a white color, I think I might need about 50 mils, just about 3 tablespoonfuls of or more. What I'll do is I'll reduce my cream by, say, 30 mils, and then the coloring will make up for it. So instead of having 300 grams of chocolate to 100 mils of cream, and then maybe 30 mils of white food coloring, I'll have 270 mils of cream and then 30 mils. Does that make sense? I'll leave notes in the description box below when we are all done, just so that I can explain that better. Because then, just because you can add color doesn't mean you should keep pouring and pouring and pouring. It will interfere with your ganache consistency. But with that said, and with the tips handed to you, that's the ganache done. You can actually at this point either whip your ganache up, or you can use a hand mixer to mix it up so that it beats together finely, and then you can go ahead and use it to cover a cake. If you want to see how to use the ganache in this form to cover a cake, check the previous videos that are already on in long form, and I used the same ganache ratio, the same tips, processes to cover the cake, and it was lovely with some really great results over there. As we edge towards all the corners of ganache, there will come a tutorial in the future where we will literally cover a ganache from start, a cake where we will literally cover a cake with ganache from start to finish, so you can see the real result from making the ganache to actually using it in all the decorating phases to the ultimate result, which will be a finely, cleanly polished ganache cake. So there you have it. There was a comment on social media yesterday that I saw on TikTok, somebody asking, they were a new baker. Okay, take it back. I didn't really inquire about their baking experience, but they were inquiring whether they had a new cake coming out for a customer who is having a wedding, and they're wondering if they should be using ganache or they should be using fondant, and will the ganache sustain till like 5 hours into setting it up. I wanted to answer the question for them, but it was just a long text, and yesterday I was just too exhausted to do that. But yes, if you use the right ratio of ganache, like your 3:1 on a sunny weather day, that is about 28 to 30. 5 hours, not so sure. But hey, on a day where we have about 19 degrees C, and I'm talking Celsius because we're in the UK, 19 degrees C, which is a little below, is it room temperature? Because room temperature is about 18 to 22. I could be wrong on that. It will sustain for at least over 5 hours, maybe up to 6, I will say. So ganache is your friend. In the chat, there's Auntie Jackie. Auntie Jackie, how are you? Great to have you back. It's been a little while, honey. Where have you been? Let me wash my hands and then wipe my work table. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. That's about the quotation I can remember on top of my head, because honey, last time we came here and we were talking about Psalm 23, jeez. Did a sister find herself wanting? Auntie Jackie. Psalm 23. Come on, let's start. The Lord is my shepherd. Auntie Jackie says, I am well. I've been out in these streets for the Lord. Oh my God. What an absolute good work you are doing out there. May the Lord strengthen your cause for himself, okay? And may he give you strength, wisdom, and grace to keep going. Evangelism is one of those things that, ooh, I need some prayers. Auntie Jackie. Great to have you though, but how is it going? What is the feeling on the streets? Are the people willing are they at a place where they are just open and willing, or it's more like you are just planting the seeds and allowing the grower to turn the seasons around? Tell us more about that experience over there. It is one to, come on, you email me. But yeah, great to have you back though, and I hope you're having a great time. Okay, where is our friend who put that? Russell, where are you joining us from? And there is a few of you in there. I am so sorry, I was over there mouthing off about Ganache, because you know what, Ganache is the love of my life these days. Okay, I want to teach you to make Ganache, how to use it, and how to get great results from it. So Ganache is the love of my life these days, but you are not forgotten at all. So there is Russell, there is Agrotech, there is Susanette. I was trying to kind of get the name right. Susanette, bonjour. Oh, it's afternoon here. It's bonsoir, okay? But bonsoir, ça va? If you're still there, Agrotech is still here. I know Delaney was here, but I think she's gone. So Susanette and oh, Dummy Games. People, it's lovely to talk to you, but when we are in class, it can be awfully hard to engage and keep in touch, okay? Aries from Greece. Hiya! Greece. Welcome to the chat. I hope you're enjoying your time in Greece. What's happening with you, and what's the best thing that's happened to you today? Look, it's only 4. I said 4. It's 2:31 over here in the UK. Nothing exciting has happened, but you know what? I am glad to be alive. I am glad to be here. I have all I need, okay? I will trust the Lord for more and for grace and for fulfillment of my needs. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And Proverbs, trust in the Lord with all your heart. That's a quotation that makes me want to cry sometimes, because it is so true and so real that if you trust the Lord with everything, not the things that you desire the most, there is no caveat to it. It doesn't tell you to trust the Lord when you are waiting for that promotion. Okay, it doesn't say that. Even when the storm is happening, you've got to trust him. Not when you have the nice car, or when you're willing for it. So Proverbs 3:6-7 it literally makes me want to cry sometimes. But Auntie Jackie says some are, most are not. Okay. So I plant the seeds and I leave the rest to the Lord. Auntie Jackie, fact is, that is all you can do. You are the person who goes. You are the planter, essentially. So you go plant the seeds. They will fall on different, even the texture of soils are different in different seasons. Okay? So I pray the Lord will continue to strengthen your resolve. Because you know the thing that Marlon, hello there. You know the thing that kind of scares me about evangelism? Because I am just I'm not social. If I say I'm socially awkward, that's untrue. Okay? But I am in my head a lot. I'm not socially awkward at all. But initiating a conversation can be so hard for me. Like, I almost have a pathological, like, demand avoidance on the subject. Like, I will do anything. But it's fun that when I break through that mentally, it's like, oh, I'm a social butterfly. It's great. And then I get burnt out. And then I come home and I stew over what I may have said, what I didn't say, how things went. So for me, God is such like trouble for me when I think about evangelism. Because then you don't know who you are going to meet. And you are not sure. At least I am not always sure. And as much as I feel like I could tell you all about cakes, when it comes to my Bible, I'm still growing into it. Like, I am still learning what understanding the Bible in context looks like. So I am very insecure about it. But you know what? As I'm talking about it, you know, the reassurance is, well, the truth is I don't have to do it on my own. You know, you pray to be led by the Holy Spirit, and then you go do the thing, and He will prep your course for you and take you there, and everything else is kind of sorted in advance. Glad. Stop complaining. Okay. All right. Auntie Jackie, I have solved my own like inner dilemma about evangelism. But either way, I'm sending you hugs, and I trust the Lord will strengthen your resolve in the course you are taking and bring souls to Himself. That's all. Marlon says hi, Auntie. Marlon, hi there. My people, it's still great to have you. And just before we delved into the Jesus Center, okay? Okay. Just before we went into the Jesus Center, because if you didn't know, we do talk Jesus here. Not all the time, but Jesus lives with us all the time, okay? And many a time we talk about Him over here. So our Auntie Jackie is out on the streets planting seeds. The Lord will water it and get the growing done in the seasons. And that will be so, like, the testimonies of those times, I cannot wait for you to come back and see. You'd be surprised how a small, like, contact with a person will change their whole life's experience. So, yeah. On to the new love of my life, Ganache. So, essentially, if you want to know what we were doing, we were coloring pre-made Ganache. The Ganache was already made. So, how do you get it from a flat consistency like this to getting it mixed so it doesn't run, it doesn't break, and then you can cover a cake with it? So I took you through the entire process, and hopefully that would be some help to you. Now I still have my 2:1 and 1:1 ratios that will be used for covering cakes. I have a very busy week of cakes ahead of me. I have some not a gluten-free what is this? A vegan chocolate cupcakes, like a selection of vegan chocolate cupcakes, a full-on Victoria sponge cake, and a few other things that I have to do. So I'm actually excited. You will see a lot of me this week. I know yesterday we were supposed to be back on the live as usual. Yesterday was a manic day. I had some commitments that took me away from the kitchen completely. And I had almost deserted the community post updates because I really didn't know what I was doing. And if you've been here for a little while, you'll find I update the community post. I update the community post and then I disappear. But my people, this is where I'll leave you. It's not normal that I do that, but to the corner of my eye, there's an important appointment that is yelling at me right now. I've got to go, but I will catch you. If not tonight, we'll be back same time tomorrow. Check the community post for more. Auntie Jackie, I'll catch you later. Yeah. Bye-bye, people.